Hurricane Delta made landfall in Louisiana as a Category 2 hurricane in early October. The state was already hard hit by the coronavirus pandemic, and Delta would be the fourth of five named storms to hit Louisiana, part of a record hurricane season in the Atlantic that blew away estimates.
There was times where I could feel our house, kind of the pressure in our house from the changing in the wind direction as the eye wall kind of made its way over us. That's a powerful wind. I mean, I'd never seen anything like it.
Will Precht was one of the millions of residents along the southern U.S. coastline who braced for Delta's impact.
I'd stepped out back, and I stepped around the side of the house, and it nearly blew me straight down.
When it arrived, winds reached 100 miles per hour, cutting power, and the storm dumped nearly 1.5 feet of rain in some places.
Electricity went out?
For Louisiana residents still reeling from the damage caused by Hurricane Laura in August, Delta was a second, crippling blow. Storyful spoke to Will about his experience.
2 hurricanes back-to-back like that is pretty unprecedented. Of course, they make landfall all along the coast throughout hurricane season every year, but to have 2 back-to-back make landfall in nearly the exact same place, it's unprecedented in my lifetime, I know that.
Like many residents who lived through these hurricanes, Will filmed and shared his first-hand accounts on social media. His videos there are among hundreds verified by Storyful that have helped newsrooms limited by the pandemic show just how these storms impacted local communities. As of November, there have been 30 named storms in the Atlantic. That's more than any other year with reliable records. Why did so many storms form in the Atlantic in 2020, beating even the highest of predictions? Experts say several factors may be contributing to the unusually active season, including La Niña and warmer temperatures in the Atlantic Ocean. Though climate change is expected to worsen the intensity of hurricanes, the number of storms this year doesn't tell the entire story.
So I think that a lot of times people put frequency and intensity in the same camp, right? So they think about the number of storms and then the intensity of storms, and that those are related to the same things, and that's not necessarily true. The number is related to all of those puzzle pieces being set up in exactly the right order. Most research suggests that the number of storms is not really changing in relation to climate change. And it's much more related to things like rapid intensification and that final maximum intensity that a storm ultimately reaches, which is a lot like what we see in this season.
The season began with Tropical Storm Arthur in mid-May, followed by Tropical Storm Bertha. Then there was Cristobal, Faye, Gonzalo, Hannah, Isaias, Josephine, and Kyle. Then, in late August, Hurricane Laura made landfall in Louisiana as one of the strongest storms to ever hit the state. It brought with it winds of 150 miles per hour, 17-foot storm surges, and left hundreds of thousands without power. 500,000 Louisianans were ordered to evacuate. After Laura, there was Nana, Omar, and Paulette. The National Hurricane Center depleted its alphabetical list of storm names by September, turning to Greek letters, something they hadn't done since 2005. Storms have also struck other areas in the U.S. and abroad, including Texas, Alabama, and Florida, and drenched the U.S. East Coast as far north as New Jersey and New York, causing billions of dollars in damage.
Oh my gosh!
We still don't know the full toll of this year's hurricane season. For governments, the economic impact has been steep, but it could have been worse. Some estimates put the damage in the region of $29 billion, which is less than other years, partly because many of the storms made landfall in less densely populated areas. But that's little solace for residents who've barely had time to rebuild before the next storm. For Will and others like him who've been hit repeatedly, the work now comes in trying to piece together their homes and their lives.
Now the real struggle comes, the struggle that nobody knows about, and that's with insurance. And many people deal with that. That's the kind of unspoken battle after a hurricane.
The intensity of the season has also left many bracing for what's to come. This year's hurricane season has led many in Louisiana and elsewhere to face bigger questions about their future.
Dealing with the pandemic, basically knocking out the industry that I was working in, and then dealing with 2 major hurricanes, you definitely think, get out, go north, find somewhere else that hurricanes aren't such an issue. Do I leave home and face the uncertainty of maybe not finding work right away or having to change industries entirely. And, you know, is it worth leaving my family for, or do we just rebuild again and cross our fingers? It's a tough decision, but, you know, this is home. So that's where we are right now.